Oh man, y'all, you can't make this up. Good morning, y'all. Machiavelli Mills TV. So look, it's time for us to have a very open and honest, candid conversation this morning. So on social media, on Twitter, I saw this conversation going around, and it was talking about black men who stated that they struggled dating black women growing up, right? And so this guy went on Twitter, he made a tweet, and he said, if you struggle with dating black women as a black man and you think it's because you aren't hood, I'm here to tell you it's because you're a loser, right? And so there is some credence to that. There are some guys who just they think that black women are all monolithic, and they think that, oh my God, they don't like me because I'm a hood guy. I'm a hood guy, and that's the furthest thing from the truth for some guys, because some guys aren't hood, but they're very creepy. They're weirdos. They don't have social skills. They don't have any confidence. They don't have any charisma. They aren't charming in the least bit, and they think that just because they aren't hood, they should be placed on a pedestal, which can come out very obnoxious, so on and so forth. And so, because of that, they struggle with dating women. Women don't want to be around them because they're not good people to be around. They're not fun to be around. They are not intriguing, and guys like that often tend to try to label it as, I don't get women because I'm not hood enough. I'm not trying to be a thug. I'm not trying to walk around with my pants sagging and so on and so forth. When it's really because they lack a lot of qualities, attractive qualities that the opposite sex would really be enamored with. You know what I mean? But then there's the opposite side of the spectrum. When certain guys talk about struggling dating black women, growing up, a lot of times I think they refer to the times in high school, because high school is where a lot of us got some of our first dating experiences in high school. And I think that there is some validity in some black men saying that they struggle to date black women, depending on the high school you went to and the environment that you grew up in, right? The environment that you went to high school in, and so on and so forth. Case in point. I myself, I've always been what some people would consider a square. I grew up in Chicago, Illinois, like Southside Chicago, Illinois, inner city Chicago. I lived in some crazy wild hoods over my lifetime. I always have been what you see here. I've always been a smiling guy, real down to earth, low key. I'm way more down to much more low key than you even see on this YouTube channel. I've always been a chill, even keel, mild mannered guy. Smile a lot. always been just easygoing personality, so on and so forth. I never was in a gang. I never, was trying to be. I was from the hood without question, but I wasn't trying to be a hood dude. That was not me. I had no interest in. I never smoked. I never drank. I had no interest in trying to be, on the scene, on the block, trying to stand outside with folks and them. Even though folks and them was outside on my block at the corner store, all of that, right? However, even though I lived in them hoods, I didn't go to the school in my hood, in none of the hoods I lived in. I went to Morgan Park High School, which was in a nice area, right? The school I went to, it wasn't like in a super rich area, but it's like right by Beverly, you know what I mean? Right in a nice area. So the school I went to was 98% black. But within my school, it was like in Morgan Park, it was obvious that black people were not monolithic. You saw black people of all different type of walks of life. You saw black kids that were hood, into gangbanging. You saw black kids that was athletes, black kids that were creatives, like that were into like creative writing, that were into poetry, that were into, because we had a poetry team. You had black kids that were into anime. We had an anime club. You had black kids that were into music. They were great musicians. They were in a band. We had an excellent band. We had black kids that were into fashion, so on and so forth, fashion design. Couple of girls from my school are now great fashion designers that have been on TV, making dresses for celebrities, so on and so forth, right? Shout out to Jasmine Dean. Shout out to Tiny from MP. You feel me? They doing their thing with their clothing. Nonetheless, man. So I say that to say that Morgan Park because it was monolithic black people in there. I mean, not monolithic. Because you can see that black people were not monolithic within MP Morgan Park High School. There was a girl for every type of black man in there. If you were into anime, it was girls that was gonna like you. If you were a guy that was like what people consider a nerd, it was girls that were gonna like you in there. If you was a dude that you just like playing the music in the band, it was a girl that was gonna like you for that, and did not try to make you be something else, and did not try to force you to be something else. It wasn't like, one standard of a guy that every woman should date in our school. It was like a wide spectrum of different type of black men that were athletic, black men like myself. I was able to thrive in Morgan Park. I wasn't on no sports team. All I like to do, dress pretty. I didn't even dress good in high school at that time. I started dressing better when I got to college. But yeah, I just, like to talk about the sports. I like to watch sports. I was like just a calm, even keel kid. Did my work, did my homework. I smiled a lot. I was nice to everybody, cool. And it was women that loved me just for that. And I like to smell good all the time too. It was girls that loved me for that. On the flip side of the coin, my right-hand man from college, that I met in college, my boy Melvin. Melvin went to Chicago Vocational, CVS High School. Melvin told me, and I lived right up the street. I lived on 86 in Euclid, a couple of blocks up from CVS, right by CVS High School. I remember I got jumped on by CVS too, so I can tell you, I believe what this brother talking about, and I knew other people that went to CVS. He told me if you went to Chicago Vocational, if you wasn't gangbanging in the street some type of way, there was very limited access to girls. You were gonna have limited access to the women, meaning that the women were not going to be attracted to you heavily if you didn't have some type of affiliation in the street. Chicago Vocational is a completely different high school than Morgan Park. Morgan Park was a selective enrollment high school with an IB program. It was in a nice area. CVS was over east. Or what we call over east, southeast Chicago, right? Past Jeffrey, in the hood, smack dab in the hood. And so the girls in there, if you wasn't one of folks in them, they wasn't attracted to you. They wasn't trying to be around. When I say folks in them, you wasn't GD, BD, that's folks. Or if you wasn't Mo them, if you weren't one of the Blackstones, people, they was looking at you iffy and looking at you shaky. And I would say that a black man like a Childish Gambino, y'all women can see Childish Gambino. They don't think he's an ugly guy and so on and so forth. Because I've heard, I don't know who said this. I don't know if Childish Gambino said this. I was watching Dead End Hip Hop. It's a vlog. It's a YouTube channel. And so it's a guy named Mike Seatown. Mike MYKE. Mike expressed the fact that he had no problem. He of course he loved it. He find black women attractive on the regular. It's just that when he was growing up in his area, he was into death metal, heavy metal, rock and roll, and I don't know if he went through a goth period. I don't know if he did or not. He may have, right? But he was like, it was a lot of black girls were not into him. They thought he was kind of weird. And because he was so quirky, and because he was just like, he was cut from a different cloth than the black men in his area where he grew up in. I think he grew up around Sacramento, California, in that area. And he was just like, black women just found me very weird, and they just were kind of like standoffish towards me because I was just, I was an oddball. And he I don't blame them for that. I had my own liking and so on and so forth. And so genuinely, when he went to school or when he went to other surroundings, he liked the girls that liked him. You know what I mean? And I think he may have alluded to that thing with Childish Gambino. I don't know if Childish Gambino said it though, out of his mouth. But I'm just saying this. Donald Glover, aka Childish Gambino, if he would have went to Chicago Vocational High School, he would have been in trouble. If Jordan Peele went to Chicago Vocational High School, he would have been in trouble, right? That would have, let's be real, it would have been girls in there that would have not been attracted to them in the least bit. They would have thought they were corny because of the interest that they had. They would have thought, who is this cornball, eyeball dude? I'm not rocking with him. He better get his corny, lame ass the hell up out of here. And that's for real. And I believe that to the highest degree. We don't like to have these conversations because, we don't want to, and I'm like this too. I don't want to label black women as like, oh, they chase degeneracy. Like, because they want a hood dude and so on and so forth. No, that's not black women at all. But there are many black women that have grown up in the hood in dysfunction and have a desire, and what they think that hood stuff is normal. That is the norm. They think that repping a block, having a street affiliation is normal, and that is what is. They have a desire for that because that's what they've grown up to see, whether it be from their own father, whether it be from, their big brothers, uncles, cousins, so on and so forth. So many girls in the hood, they grow up in certain dysfunctional elements and they chase that dysfunction because that is what is normal to them. That is what they're used to seeing. Anything else other than that is like, it's strange. It's like, what the hell is this? This is wild. And that is a thing. Not for all black women at all. No. I'm not saying that. But for many black women in that time, when we were in high school, like, girls wanted tough ass dudes. A lot of girls did. And so, again, most guys, they start their dating experiences in high school. And so if you're not a hood dude and you going to a hood school like Chicago Vocational in the hood with a lot of girls from the hood, and you acting like you're presenting yourself in the ilk of a childish Gambino or Jordan Peele, you're gonna struggle dating. Because a lot of the girls in that element, in that environment, are like, that's not the norm for them. And so they're gonna be like, whoa, you gonna get shunned. And like, oh no, bro, get up out my face, you corny as hell. That's a real thing that many guys experience when they not like cut from a certain cloth, like they real type hood type. Right? And so we don't like to talk about it, and we don't like to admit it because we don't want to have a label on the black women that they chase degeneracy, because they don't. But when they're young, and you got some black women in the hood that have grown up in dysfunction, not just black women in the hood, many black women in the hood that have grown up in dysfunction, they think that is normal and they chase normalcy, so they're going to go to the hood dude. And that's the thing. We don't like to talk about it. But it's crazy because we all universally can admit that in high school and elementary school during that time period, dark-skinned people was not in. We can openly admit that. We can, as a community, we can say dark-skinned people was not popping. They was not, you know what I mean? They were not it was not a thing. Dark-skinned people were not desired like that in elementary school and high school. I'm 29. I remember when all the jokes about being dark and being black. Now, dark skin is in, and that's great for sure. But during that time period, y'all remember, and we all have admitted it, that dark skinned folks caught hell during elementary school and high school. But we don't want to admit that guys like the Childish Gambino type, Jordan Peele type, it was just like, it was not a thing to really rock with. Even, I mean, now Wiz, because Wiz smoked weed and all of that, but if Wiz Khalifa didn't smoke weed, right? Because that, for whatever reason, I don't know why, weed has a tie to the hood a lot of time. Even though people in suburban America smoke weed heavily. You know what I mean? All of that in the white community, they smoke weed heavily too. But y'all know in the hood, they kind of make you a little bit more, during that time period, you get a little bit more leeway. You got leeway if you smoke weed in high school and stuff. So if Wiz Khalifa didn't smoke weed, didn't have them tats or whatever, he would be considered an oddball, for real, but from his personality to his demeanor to his interest. And if he went to a hood school like Chicago Vocational, he would have struggled. Now in my high school, Morgan Park, yeah, it was girls that would have dated a guy like Childish Gambino. It was girls that would have dated a guy like Jordan Peele. It was girls that would have dated a guy like Wiz Khalifa if he didn't have the tattoos and he didn't smoke weed. For sure. But it's all about the environment that you're in. The environment, in the environment that the people that you go to school with are cultivated in. In Morgan Park, everybody wasn't from the hood. Everybody wasn't from dysfunction. Everybody wasn't from, didn't have gangbanging fathers and all of this and all of that. I took a beautiful girl to prom. right? Ariana, shout out Ariana. Ariana had no interest in hood dudes at all. She had no interest. Hood dudes was mad they couldn't talk to her. They was pissed off. She's half black, and she mixed with a whole lot of other stuff, right? Her mom is black, her father was mixed with a whole lot of other stuff, right? You know? And so, anyway, you know, but it was guys that was pissed off they couldn't talk to her. She wasn't budging. But at Morgan Park High School, it was like that because a lot of them girls, now it was girls that grew up in dysfunction, and was girls that was only dating hood dudes with a certain type of like bravado about them, with a certain type of stamp on them. You know, when I say stamp, I mean like if they was hood stamped. Some girls in Morgan Park were only talking to dudes if they was hood certified, for sure. But it was an abundance of girls that was not on that and that was not a thing. But if you went to Chicago Vocational, if you was in that environment in Chicago Vocational High School, you was gonna be in trouble. I would have been in trouble in CVS, right? A couple of my homies, some of my best friends, they have interest in anime. You know, they have a quirky style. My right hand man, my dog, that y'all seen, my boy Matt. Matt had a different type of style. It was quirky. He was the first kid I knew wearing fitted clothes in 2008, when before, you know, baggy was still in at that time. He was, you know, he had the nose piercing, had the piercings on the side of his ears. I don't think Matthew had the nose piercing then, but he had the multiple piercings in his ears, had the spike piercings or whatever and all that type of stuff. And girls liked him in Morgan Park, and they was all rocking with him. They was cool. But if he would have went to Chicago Vocational, they would have been like, what the hell is that? What are you doing? Why you like this? Why you like anime? Why you like, you know, why are your clothes so fitted? Why you ain't present yourself in the hood? You corny. You oddball. You weird. That would have been a real thing. And so we don't like to talk about it, but it just all depends on the environment that you were cultivated in. If you went to a hood high school that was smack dab in the hood, nothing, filled with majority hood girls that grew up in dysfunction, you were going to be in trouble. And we can openly admit that and not try to place a label on black women that all y'all chase degeneracy. No, but it is a real thing, you know, that many guys go through. I remember this like vividly. I'm in high school. I'm in Morgan Park. It's a pretty young girl in there. I ain't gonna say her name because she might see the video. Very pretty woman, pretty girl at the time, you know. Still a pretty girl, you know. She got a family, so on and so forth, whatever. But anyway, when we were in high school, my math teacher, he kept trying to hook us up. He wanted to hook us up so bad. Like, he wanted me to get with her, and man, Malcolm, all she needs is a dude like you. She had you on her corner, man. She go to the next level. She a smart girl. She just have little struggles here and there. She need to be pushed just a little bit. If she was dating with you, man, I'm telling you, man, she'll go to that next level with you. If y'all was together, y'all would be, you know, it was a black teacher, black math teacher, black man, and he's advocating. You know, you see the young black girl. She's a pretty girl. She's, you know, she's obviously smart. You got certain struggles here and there. She's like, listen, you know, Malcolm, you an upstanding black dude. Y'all get together, man. Y'all can make something special happen. Y'all could be, you know, y'all can be a young little couple and y'all do y'all thing as y'all get older. And so I remember him trying to like put it into commission, right? And I wasn't, she was, you know, a pretty girl, but I wasn't stressed on that. Because for one, man, I'm like this. If the girl ain't really like interested, if I don't think the woman interested in me and she kind of like, you know, she was cool, but she was kind of like a little bougie, a little like, you know, standoffish or whatever a little bit. And if you like that with me, I don't have no desire to be chasing you. That's not a thing. But my teacher was trying to make it a thing. So I remember one of my homies, because one of my boys caught wind of it. Like, oh man, you know, our teacher, he trying to get you on and hooked up with this girl. My homie went and talked to the girl like, man, what's up with you and Malcolm? Right? What's up with you and my homie Malcolm? And she's like, Malcolm is cute, but, you know, it would help if he just toughened up a little bit. If he toughened up a little bit. If he just toughened up. You know, you need to toughen up. I'm like, I ain't never shown that I was soft in any aspect at Morgan Park High School in no way. No way, right? So I don't know what she's talking about. But because I had this demeanor where I was a nice guy. I wasn't trying to be hard and trying to be tough and wasn't trying to walk around cussing and all this and all of that with a certain bravado. Like I'm the toughest dude in the room. I smiled a lot. You know, I was real chill. I was real cool, calm and collected and all of that. she didn't find that attractive. She wanted me to have a little bit more street edge to me, if, in my outer appearance. And the girl probably thought I grew up in the suburbs and all this and all of that. She thought I grew up in no, I did not. Grew up in the hoods of the hood. And she probably came from the suburban area or whatever. But anyway, I don't know. But for whatever reason, she wanted me to have a street edge about myself. And my boy came back and told me, he told our teacher too. And teacher like, man, what? And I'm like, yeah, all right, cool. Mission complete, I'm off that. I was never on that in the first place. But now that she said that, I'm going to go in the opposite direction. Because obviously, she has no interest in talking to me. I ain't finna try to make this whole thing a thing. Like, nah, fam, I'm going to go ahead over here, mind my business and keep it moving. I ain't finna be trying to rock in her circle and be in her element. Nah, she ain't rocking with it. She ain't rocking with it. But yeah, but it was a lot of girls in Chicago Vocational, according to my boy Mill, and a whole lot of other people, and several other people I know that went to CVS. They've all told me the same thing. And so I would have been in trouble off of that. The girl in Morgan Park, one girl in Morgan Park thought I wasn't tough enough, right? But again, it was other girls that really liked me in there. But from what I heard, from what I hear in Chicago Vocational, it was a whole lot of girls, like the girl that tried to deny me, basically, saying that they wanted dudes to be certain more tough and more street bravado, so on and so forth. It's girls in there that was more girls in there that was like that. And so thank God I went to Morgan Park, but I was gonna be all right. If I would have went to CVS, Chicago Vocational, I probably would have been in trouble in a lot of different ways, man. And so people don't like to admit that, but I hear, though, when brothers say that, they struggle dating black women growing up, I'll be like, I can understand it if they present themselves in a certain ilk. If they not assholes and if they cool, calm, collected, good, all well-rounded guys that, that are interesting, they know how to talk to people, they got good social skills, I can understand them if they into anime and they had other interests, that I can understand them being looked at as quirky in certain environments, girls not talking to them or not being attracted to them, black girls not being attracted to them, if they went to certain schools in certain environments, right? I can understand that. Now, when you get to college though, if you ever go to college, that will be no excuse, because when we go to college, we find all the time there is a crowd for everybody. You'll find black people who are not monolithic in thinking or in the way they present themselves. And so you'll find girls like the girls that I went to high school with in Morgan Park. You'll be able to find women who are interested in guys who present themselves like me, who present themselves like a Childish Gambino, like a Jordan Peele, or Nick Cannon. Because Mel was telling me I'm this Nick Cannon pre-baby mama Nick Cannon. My boy Mel tell me in CVS, Chicago Vocational, even if you presented yourself like Nick Cannon, it was going to be a no-go. Because people in the hood, growing up, people thought Nick Cannon was corny. I don't know why was that a thing. All the money Nick had, Nick was cool. Was a nice looking dude, cracked the jokes. It was cool. Girls liked him. People thought Nick Cannon was corny in the hood, for sure. Especially when he did that movie Chirac. You should have heard people in Chicago. They wasn't just down there. It wasn't just because the movie Chirac was terrible. It was because they like, man, nobody gonna believe Nick Cannon. Look at Nick Cannon, corny ass. Look at corny ass Nick Cannon. That was a thing, right? And Nick would have been in trouble. But when you go to college, you can see that, oh my God, this girls is gonna like you for being in the ilk of a Nick Cannon, pre-baby mama Nick Cannon, or a Jordan Peele, or Childish Gambino, or me, or my boy Matthew, and so on and so forth. I remember Melvin told me, because I was prom king in high school, and that was still that was an anomaly in Morgan Park. I didn't play no sport. I wasn't at every party. I wasn't loud and rambunctious type. You know what I'm saying? I was chilled out. I was real chill. So it was still a thing. Dang, dudes like me don't really win prom king at MP, right? Melvin told me at CVS, if you wasn't one of folks them or one of the moles or something, you wasn't having no type of, if you didn't have no street affiliation, if you wasn't really hood official certified, you was not going to win prom king. They don't give a damn how well you played a sport or none of that. It didn't matter. If you ain't had no if you didn't have a street affiliation attached to you and that hood ass high school, and I'm thinking maybe it was the same thing for schools like South Shore and all of this. If you was at one of them schools, oh nah, bro. You ain't winning no prom king. You ain't got no street affiliation. Even in schools I'm trying to think of some hood high schools. Um, South Shore, Inglewood before they fixed it up, Robeson, CVS. I don't even know if it was room for you to be a black creative like that in there. Like it was because of a lot of black folks that was in them schools oftentimes grew up around an environment in dysfunction, and dysfunction became normal, like a normalcy for them, both for the boys and girls, to where if you even were like a creative, like into drawing or into being into instruments and all this and all of that, you was gonna be looked at as a weirdo in that time. And that's a real thing, man. Like Melvin told me, man, at CVS, if you was in a band, people thought you was lame or you was corny or cornball if you was in a band. At Morgan Park, the band was like, everybody loved like listening to the band. The band was dope at MP. I remember they was playing the Family Guy theme song. And they was playing all these different theme songs on a damn instrument. The band was fire at MP. Everybody know it, man. Like, yeah, the drum major, it was dope. A lot of the kids that was in the band went on to go to be at HBCUs and play in the bands there. All this and all that, man, it was dope. Shout out to our homie Jonas, man. Jonas went to Bethune-Cookman. Shout out to Jonas, man. But the homie Marcus went to UAPB, University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. Yeah, different kids that went to different schools and HBCU programs and all of that, and helped to turn their band out there. So it's fire, man. But like, I understand when some black men say, when they were in high school, at least I would say in high school, when they say growing up, for some of them, they struggled to find black women that were interested in them based upon the environment they grew up in. Now, if you went to college now, there's no excuse for that in college, because when you get to college, it's women, black women that are not monolithic in thinking, and that like all different types. It's black women that like all different type of guys there at school. Now, sometimes though, because some guys had them negative experiences or them experiences where girls wasn't rocking with them or wasn't liking them like that, they went, and as soon as they got to college and they were around, because a lot of us went in Chicago, and speaking of, Chicago is the most segregated city in the United States, right? Black people grow up with black people, Asians grow up with Asians, Hispanics grow up with Hispanics, and whites grow up with whites, right? That's how it is here. So we went to school with our own ethnicity. And so a lot of times when some black dudes that were like looked at as oddball, I guess depending on the schools they went to, soon as they got to college, they went and found a woman who was the furthest thing away from a black woman, because they felt like, oh, maybe I got to date outside my race. And that was their opportunity to date outside of their race. It presented itself in college because they were finally around other ethnicities of women. And so they're like, maybe I'll go to this girl, that girl. Maybe they'll like me more. And, and they ended up happening because they felt like, man, maybe it's just a black girl thing. But we come to find out it's not a black girl thing, man. It's just about where certain black women, the environment some black women were cultivated in. If they were cultivated in nothing but dysfunction, a lot of times dysfunction is going to become normal to them until they get older and they say, I don't want that. That's not what I want, man. I remember my homie, Melvin. Melvin is a black man from the hood all the way through and through. You will see the Chicago in him when he talk, when he walk, certain words he use, the bravado he has, so on and so forth. But Melvin liked to watch shows like One Tree Hill, right? That's his favorite show of all time. There were black girls that we grew up with in certain hoods and certain stuff like that. They thought it was corny, they thought he was weird, and they thought it was soft that he was watching One Tree Hill, a TV show, because it was a white TV show that had certain elements of love in it. And One Tree Hill is a fire show. That show dope. But it was girls that clowned him or tried to clown him for watching that show. And he like, man, in his mind, he like, damn, why is it not okay for me to watch this show? In the hood, that amongst the hood, it's not okay for me to watch this show. I get clowned out and I get ridiculed. And then, when you get older, we went to college and he saw it's black girls who are endearing to that, who have no problem with you watching these shows, who look at that and say, oh man, that's a cool show. Oh man, how did you get into this show? This is dope. It's black women who are more open-minded to it. But when you're growing up in an element where you just in the hood around nothing but girls who grew up in the hood and that were raised around that type of raised around in a certain dysfunction, where they daddies was big game bangers, they uncles was big game bangers, or they brothers was big game bangers, they gonna look at it as oddball activity because that's not what the men in their family found intriguing. That's not what the men in their immediate circle found intriguing. That's not what the men in their block and their 5-block radius or 10-block radius found intriguing at all. So if you doing that, like, what is wrong with you? You a weirdo? What's up? You know, and so that is a thing. But when Melvin went to college, he started seeing black girls that were not monolithic in thinking or in the way that they were not monolithic in the men that they were attracted to. And he said, oh man, that ain't no thing, man. You know, it's just when we're younger, and I was just in that environment, you know, where it was just nothing but people that were cultivated in the hood and dysfunction. I was around nothing but people like that. And so that's why I was looked at as in a certain way as being odd for having certain interests. So I think it's all about, you know, the environments that you were cultivated in, and then that will determine those things, man. But yeah, man, like, hey man, y'all know it's dudes like, it's certain, some of y'all that went to certain hood high schools, man, y'all know dudes like Childish Gambino and Jordan Peele would have had trouble if they would have went to your high school. You know that, and y'all gotta admit that, man. This new dudes, certain, they would have had trouble, man. They would have had trouble functioning in there or thriving in there amongst the opposite sex. So that's a real issue. That's a real thing, man. But yeah, man. I just wanted to talk about that because we don't like to mention it. But I think that type of thing where certain guys say they struggle dating black women. I think that occurs when you're in high school or whatever. And if you go to college, you'll find your way and find out like, oh no, black women do not think monolithic. Black women are not monolithic in thinking in their approach to certain things. And you'll see it like, man, that ain't true. That ain't true. You'll see that on a regular basis. So that's what I have to say about that. I'm trying to think if I have anything else to add. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this conversation in the comment section below, man. But I saw this, and it's like, oh, you just a loser. But there are some dudes, like, because if you are a young kid and you, like, it's certain dudes that try to chase Instagram models. Like, bro, you have no business chasing an Instagram model. It's dudes out here that got way more money than you, way more charisma. They still don't have enough money or charisma to talk to an Instagram model. So it's some dudes that spend their time and their lives chasing certain black women that are way out of their league, certain black women who are way like out of their access, out of their reach. And they try to get to them women when they can't get to them and they get shut down. They all black women don't like me. All these black women think I'm this and that. All these black women, you know, they think I'm they only like the thugs. They only like the thugs. They only like the thug type dudes. They only like the thug type dudes. Nah, bro, you just shooting way above your reach right now. You shooting way above your reach. You know, and you have certain dudes that do that and then complain and whine and cry because I can't get a black girl. But then you have certain black men who have really went through those type of like struggles in high school trying to date certain black women depending on their environment that they grow up in. And I want to say it again, black women do not chase dysfunction or degeneracy. It's just some black women that have grown up in dysfunction. They look as like some black women who have grown up in dysfunction in the hood, not just in the hood, but in dysfunction in the hood. They start to look at that dysfunction as a normalcy, as normal, and they start to have a desire for that because that is what they're used to. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this video. Machiavelli Mills TV, I'm out. Peace.